Hello YouTube family and friends, welcome to my channel where I make motherhood and lifestyle videos for the homemaker. My name is Aubrey and today's video is a do-it-yourself toddler Halloween costume where I am going to show you all how to make a cicada costume for your toddler. Now I know that is very specific. I know you guys are saying, what, a cicada? But that is what Nicholas wanted to be, and so that's what I made for him this year for Halloween. But just so you know, this video is applicable to any type of insect costume. So if your toddler wants to be a butterfly or wants to be a ladybug, I think you'll find some tips here that will help you in your costume making process. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos. And also follow me on my Instagram page where you will find more homemaking content. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoy. Here are some supplies you may or may not need for this project depending on what you already have. I did not buy all of my items at once, and a lot of them I had already at home, but I bought my items in batches for the things that I didn't have. I took maybe 2 or 3 trips to Hobby Lobby and bought them as I was going through the project. With that being said, you're going to want a good pair of scissors, a couple of different types of fabric, some push pins, and a needle and thread. So step 1 is you're going to make a wing pattern, and I just made one. As you can see here, it's just a piece of paper cut out in the shape of a wing. What you're going to do next is you're going to take your wing pattern and you are going to attach it to the fabric that you want to use for your wings using push pins. Then you're going to cut out your wing onto your piece of fabric, and then you're going to repin it and do it again so that you end up with 2. Now this part is very important. You're going to take your wing and then you're going to turn it over so that you have your right wing, and then you're going to pin it on your fabric and cut out 2 more. So essentially what you'll end up with is 4 wings, and you'll see why you'll need 4 in a minute. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your 2 left wing cutouts of your fabric and you're going to sew them together along the edge. I think I used a running stitch, just a basic running stitch to sew them together. And then you're going to do the exact same thing for your 2 right wing fabric pieces. Stitch them together along the edge using a basic stitch. And then what I'm just showing you all is that I left a little opening on the wing. I didn't sew them all the way around, and that's just so that I can put the wire inside the wing. Here I am preparing the wire to put in the wing. With this wire, you do have to play with it for a little bit. You can also use old wire hangers for this, but I didn't have any, so I just purchased, I think it was 16mm gauge wire at Hobby Lobby. But play with it for a little while. I cut it with just some regular pliers from our toolbox, and take some time to shape it. Don't get frustrated. It will take a while to get the shape right. Here are the completed wings once I finally got the wire inside of the fabric. You can see at the end I twisted the wire together to keep its shape, and then I also did a simple stitch across the opening that was left for the wire to fit into the wing. Here I am showing the closure that I put into the wing once I had put the wire in. Next, I found some really clear pictures of some cicadas and their wings, and then I just used some fabric paint to draw the veins onto the wing. I really did this by freehand, looking at the pictures and kind of going back and forth until I got a design that I felt looked pretty accurate. You can always do a practice wing too if you're unsure about this part. Here are my actual wings once I completed making the veins on them. When you let them dry, make sure that they are not touching the paper because the paper will stick to the wing. You can see that the wire is bent in my wings and they're actually elevated up off of the paper. So just a tip to keep you from messing up your wings. Moving on to making the body of the costume, I went ahead and drew just a little picture of what I wanted it to look like. This helped me to come up with making a pattern for the body of the costume.
Using a pair of Nicholas's clothes, I went ahead and marked some dots on a piece of paper for making my pattern so that I could just make sure that the pattern didn't end up too long. Having a pair of his shorts and a shirt laid out on the table really helped me to keep in mind how big the pattern needed to be. I started by making the back of his costume first. First, I put together the lower part of the back, and then I made the top part of the back, which was kind of like a cape, and then I taped the two pieces together to make the pattern. Then I made the front of the costume, which really just ended up looking like a big bib. And here I pinned the back pattern onto the piece of the fabric I wanted to use. There's the push pin, and then I cut it out. And just like the wings, you're going to want to make sure that you cut out two of each pattern. So there ended up being two back pieces and two front pieces. Here I am sewing together the two identical back pieces. And just like the wings, I did not sew all the way around. I did leave a little hole. Once I had sewn the back pieces together and the two front pieces together, here are the final products. I turned everything inside out and I was left with a nice body for Nicholas's costume. Here I'm showing you all two things. The first thing is you can see the gap where I did not stitch together the two identical pieces for the back of his costume. Whenever you're sewing, the reason why you leave that gap is so that you can turn those two identical pieces inside out once they've been sewn together so that the stitching does not show. So you have to stick your arm in that gap, basically. That's why you leave it there. So I'm showing you all the gap is still there, but then I'm also showing you how I attached the front part of the costume to the back. I basically stitched the two pieces together, but the stitches behind the front part of the bib, as you can see as I'm working on there, that way the stitch doesn't show. When you're sewing, you want everything to look nice and finalized, so try to hide the stitching as much as you can. Here are the two pieces once they had been sewn together. Next, it was time to decorate the body of the costume and also to give it a little bit of rigidity so that it would stand up to all of Nicholas's toddler behaviors. So what I did to decorate was I just cut another fabric into strips. I thought that made a nice little detailed pattern and texture on the bottom of the costume. And then I cut out the fabric I used for wings to decorate the top of his costume. And I put it all together with Mod Podge. Here I am using the Mod Podge, and it looks like I did not use that much right here in the video, but you guys, I actually really slathered the Mod Podge on. Don't be afraid to really go at it with the Mod Podge because it gives the costume structure, and also you don't want the fabric to fall off the costume. Then I added a little extra fabric to the wings to give some detail to them, and then I also covered them in Mod Podge. Mod Podge is great because when it hardens, it really gives your arts and crafts project a nice structure. Make sure that you hang these things up to dry so that they do not stick to whatever surface you Mod Podge them on. Moving on to making the eyes for the costume, I found some styrofoam hemispheres at Hobby Lobby and I painted them. Then I used my glue gun to attach some pins to the back of the hemispheres. I glued 5 pins to each hemisphere so that they would hang on tightly to the hat that I was going to attach them to. Then I made some antenna out of chenille stems or pipe cleaners as they called them back in the day, and I attached them to a tan skull cap using a needle and thread. Be sure to sew the antenna on tightly so that they don't flop around too much. And this is what the hat ended up looking like once I attached the eyes and the antenna. To make the insect legs, I took some more wire, the same wire that I had used to make the wings, and I wrapped more chenille stems around them. What I made sure to do was to leave one end of the wire open or uncovered by the chenille stem because that part I needed to hook into the fabric. To attach the legs to the costume, I took the end of the leg that had the wire on it. I stuck it through the burlap and then I bent the wire and twisted it together so that it basically was stuck together, and then I just wrapped more chenille stems around that upper part to cover the wire. And finally, to attach the wings to the costume, I took a wire and slid it through the two loops in the wings, and then pushed that wire through the back of the costume, twisted it around a little bit, and covered it with tape for safety. For the final touch, I did add a coat of paint to the wings. It's the same paint that I used for the eyes on the hat. It just helped everything to come together. And you guys, that's pretty much it. The final step was putting the costume on Nicholas. And to make sure that it stayed on, I put some safety pins on the side and attached the two pieces in the front and the back, and that's it. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more homemaking videos. Thanks for watching.